First of all, good morning. I'm Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, and it's both an honor and a privilege to stand before you today. And before we get into the heart of our program, just want to take a brief moment on behalf of all these wonderful first responders and public safety professionals and leaders, the elected DA and all my colleagues. We just want to say that we stand with our community, our region. We know that we were all hard hit in some form or fashion, and just really want to commend all first responders, all the linemen that were out there, all those that managed cutting down the trees, everything that was necessary to get our region back up and running. So we know a lot of people are still suffering, and so we stand with them, and we're going to make sure we continue with them every step of the way during the recovery. But we felt it was important to still come forward and make this important announcement, because as life gets back to normal, we see the hustle and bustle and cars moving around. A lot of people are going to feel that false sense of security, and things are back to normal and things are okay. Memorial Day weekend is always one of the most deadliest, and it could be preventable. And so that's why we're gathered here today, not just as residents of Harris County, but also as advocates for safety and voices for change. I want to thank all our traffic safety partners for being here and for supporting our efforts to end impaired driving on our roadways. Memorial Day weekend is a time of remembrance to honor the brave men and women who made that ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation. It's also a time for families and friends to come together, celebrate, and enjoy each other's company. However, this day can quickly turn into one of sorrow and tragedy when someone chooses to drive while under the influence. Just for us alone, just in unincorporated Harris County, we've responded to 61 crashes already, resulting in more than 64 deaths. Just this year alone so far, and we're not even halfway through, we've already made 540 arrests just for DWI related offenses. That doesn't include all our other partners that are up here that have done similar impactful work. In this country today, every 79 seconds, someone is killed or injured in a drunk driving crash. Even by the time this presser is over, somebody will have lost their life on a roadway somewhere. That's over 13,000 people a year. People with families, hopes, and dreams lost in a crash that never had to happen. Not to mention those whose lives are irreversibly altered due to the devastating consequences of a person's choice to drive while impaired. Nationally, Harris County has ranked among the top in the nation for traffic fatalities due to impairment. We are not proud of it, but we are working daily to change. Let us not forget that every victim of impaired driving is more than just a statistic. They are cherished members of our community, beloved sons and daughters, parents and siblings and friends. Their absence leaves an irreplaceable void in the lives of those they leave behind. Victims like the Levin family are changed forever due to one person's choice to drink and drive. We are committed to doing everything in our power to prevent further loss. This Memorial Day weekend, our deputies and partners will be out in full force, diligently working to remove suspected impaired drivers off the road, saving countless lives. Our law enforcement officers are not immune to this crime. They put their lives on the line daily to serve and protect our community. They've seen the carnage from these preventable crashes impacting them profoundly. But their efforts alone are insufficient without your cooperation and commitment to responsible driving. Please make a plan. If you choose to consume alcohol or drugs, do so responsibly and never get behind the wheel impaired. If you feel different, you drive differently. Designate a sober driver, utilize ride-sharing services, or arrange for alternative transportation. Remember, the decision to drive under the influence not only endangers your own life, but also jeopardizes the safety of every individual on the road. As we prepare to celebrate Memorial Day, let us remember the true spirit of the day, honoring and respecting those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Let us honor them by preserving and valuing the lives of our community members. If you drink, don't drive, not only on this holiday, but every day. Together, we can create a safer Harris County where every person can enjoy their holidays without fear of their loved ones not returning home from our roadways. Help us end the streak. Thank you. I'm going to just repeat my comments briefly in Spanish real quick, and then we'll continue with the program. Nos reunimos no solo como comunidad, sino también como defensores de la seguridad y el cambio, Quiero dar las gracias a todos nuestros socios por estar aquí y por apoyar nuestros esfuerzos para poner fin a la conducción bajo los efectos del alcohol en nuestras carreteras. El fin de semana de Memorial Day es un día de recordación. Es el momento de honrar a los valientes hombres y mujeres que hicieron el sacrificio final en servicio a nuestra nación. También es un momento para que las familias y los amigos se reúnan, celebren y disfruten. Sin embargo, este día se puede convertir rápidamente en uno de tristeza y tragedia cuando alguien decide conducir bajo los efectos de alcohol. Hoy, en este día, en este país, cada 79 segundos alguien muere o resulta herido en un accidente por conducir ebrio. Eso es más de 13,000 personas al año. Personas con familias, esperanzas y sueños perdidos en un choque que nunca tuvo que ocurrir. Por no hablar de aquellos cuyas vidas son alteradas irrevisablemente debido a las consecuencias devastadoras de la elección de una persona para conducir en estado de ebriedad. A nivel nacional, el condado Harris se ha clasificado entre los primeros en la nación de las muertes de tráfico. No estamos orgullosos de eso, pero estamos trabajando diariamente para cambiar. No olvidamos que cada víctima de la conducción bajo los efectos del alcohol es más que una estadística. Son miembros queridos de nuestra comunidad. Las víctimas como la familia Levin cambian por siempre debido a la decisión de una persona de beber y conducir. No comprometemos a hacer todo lo que está en nuestras manos. Nos comprometemos a hacer todo lo que está en nuestras manos para evitar estas pérdidas. Este fin de semana vamos a estar con todos los compañeros en las carreteras. Por favor, haga un plan. Si decide consumir alcohol o drogas, nunca se ponga al volante. Puede designar a un conductor sobrio o utiliza servicios de viaje compartido. Si bebe, no conduzca, no solo en este fin de semana festivo, sino todos los días. Juntos podemos crear un condado más seguro donde cada persona puede disfrutar de sus vacaciones sin temer a que sus seres queridos no regresen a casa. Muchas gracias. At this point, I'd like to have Chief Satterwhite, Larry Satterwhite from the Houston Police Department, please say some remarks.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. So first I want to echo what the Sheriff talked about because of what our city just went through. I want to thank everybody that was involved in that. We were in many neighborhoods where people were struck, and so many of our citizens, our people that were living in our city that were just really on the margins already, and were struck by this storm, and it just really, we saw kids, we saw others saying that, there were situations where people didn't even have food, roofs were caved in, roofs torn off, such a tragic situation, but in that, and in that response to that, it did us all so good because it showed again how strong Houston is, how we all came together, and people came from all over the state to help. And for that part, I want to thank everybody, the city of Houston and everybody else that participated and is still doing so, because we still have people who are struggling, but we are working hard to take care of them. And for that, that is the good story that comes out of this, is how we take care of each other. So thank you, Houston. So we're here today to talk about something that's incredibly serious for our city. Like the Sheriff said, Harris County has often led the way throughout the nation in terms of drunken and impaired driving and traffic fatalities. It's a terrible thing, and it's so preventable, incredibly preventable. All we ever ask of the public is to enjoy themselves responsibly, to use rideshare, to use a designated driver, or to stay home if they're going to take a drink. But getting on the road, being impaired, is so dangerous, so we are asking that you not do that. We're also saying that we're going to be out there. We have officers that are out there that are going to be out there every day this weekend, because Memorial Day is a very a weekend where we have a lot of this type of behavior. So we're going to be out there in force. I'll tell you right now that since October, we've been working with 14 different state and local agencies, and we made hundreds of DWI arrests, 2,200 total arrests in full. We've made 45,000 traffic stops and issued over 50,000 citations. We're telling you that if you're going to go on the road driving aggressively, if you're going to go on the road impaired, we're going to stop you and we're going to hold you accountable, because that's the only way we know to protect you and protect the other people on the roadway. So that's going to happen. I also want to talk about something that doesn't get as much press is boating while you're impaired. It's against the law too. It's the same thing. 0.08 or above, you're going to be considered impaired on the road, on the water, just like on the ground, on the roads. And we will stop you. We will make arrests. We will have officers out on the water watching for that. Again, we're looking for a fantastic weekend where everybody can spend time with their families. Everybody can enjoy it, and everybody can remember what, like the sheriff said, what it is really for those men and women that have given the ultimate sacrifice to protect us all and our freedoms. Remember that. Be responsible. Take care of your families, and let's have a great weekend, Houston. Thank you.
Good afternoon, or good morning, I'm sorry. I'm Kim Ogg. I'm Harris County's District Attorney. I want to thank our law enforcement partners for joining us this morning to announce what we call a no-refusal weekend. For those of you who don't know, Harris County's 86 law enforcement agencies, when they make an arrest and file charges, all do it through one office, the Harris County District Attorney's Office. We have one division, our Vehicular Crimes Division, that answers and addresses out at the scene all impaired and drug driving fatalities. Last year, there were 44 cases filed. This year, we've already filed 24 intoxication manslaughter cases. That means 24 innocent lives just since the first of the year. We had a very successful no-refusal weekend and week between Christmas and New Year's. It's important to remind Houstonians that this works. What does no refusal mean? It means that after one of these first responding agencies arrests a drunk or drugged driver, they bring them to a station, and a person who's impaired can often refuse a blood test or a breath test. Not this weekend. This weekend we'll have a judge standing by on duty to sign warrants. So if you've been drinking and you get in your car to drive and one of these first responders stops you, you're going to jail. Your blood will be tested. The results will be used against you in court, and the impact of a conviction for DWI can have tremendous consequences on your family as well, because it can affect your job as well as it can affect your income. Now, why do I talk to offenders about that? Because if they were thinking about these victims, they wouldn't get in their car in the first place. So if you can't think about the lives of others, think about your own life and the damage to you and your family that a DWI arrest, or God forbid, an intoxication manslaughter arrest will do to you. And you will live with that and those consequences the rest of your lives. So as we sit around and drink and have fun at Memorial Day parties, just like the chief and the sheriff have said, just do it responsibly. That's all law enforcement asks. These officers do put their lives in harm's way every single time they make an arrest, every time they pull somebody over. And we've seen too many law enforcement officers killed by drunk drivers, just like civilians. So none of us are immune to this scourge. I want to thank the members of our vehicular crimes team, led by Assistant DA Lauren Bard. Because they go out to assist these officers at the scenes of fatalities, the DA's office makes stronger cases for law enforcement. That means more accountability for offenders. And there's treatment. If you have a drinking problem, for goodness sake, get your own treatment. But if you haven't, and if no one is hurt in the DWI, then our office offers treatment through a pretrial intervention program. It's lengthy, it's expensive, and our offenders are committing far fewer crimes after they go through the treatment plan than before. Recidivism is down about 80%. That's a staggering success rate, and it's one we'll be publishing in the next few weeks. We've just received a study. But that doesn't help the victims of drunk driving who are hit by people who are not undergoing treatment, who are hit by people who are thinking about themselves, having a good time, and putting public safety behind their own needs. So I want to thank our law enforcement partners for their bravery, for their dedication. I want to thank our assistant DAs who go out to the scene. That's a lot of secondary trauma, folks. That's a lot of tragedy to witness. It makes them better lawyers, it makes for stronger cases, and it also stays with you forever, just like it stays with all these officers. We can't unpack it. So I want the public to know we're here to protect you. We'll be out all weekend. All of these agencies plus more will be looking for drunk drivers, and the DA's office will be standing by with the judge to make sure that blood is drawn and that drunk drivers and drug drivers go to jail.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Terry Truitt, and I'm the major over the Texas Highway Patrol in Southeast Texas. As Memorial Day approaches, marking the unofficial kickoff of summer, the Texas Department of Public Safety urges drivers to prioritize safety on the roadways. Driving while intoxicated remains a significant threat to public safety, and our commitment to addressing this issue is unwavering. Typically, traffic increases during Memorial Day weekend as families take vacations, attend gatherings, and enjoy outdoor activities. DPS is committed to promoting safe driving practices and enforcing state laws to reduce the risk of roadway crashes and injuries. While you're out on the roadways, Texas State Troopers will be there too, looking for violations that threaten the safety of others. We encourage motorists to remain vigilant, obey traffic laws, avoid distractions while behind the wheel, take a break if you're getting tired, and use a sober driver if you're impaired. By following these safety guidelines, we can help ensure everyone enjoys a safe Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Doug Shoup, Corporate Communications Manager for AAA Texas. AAA Texas projects 3.6 million people here in the Lone Star State will be traveling 50 miles or more away from home from today through Monday. That's a 4.2% increase over last year and the most travelers for Memorial Day weekend since AAA first began tracking travel volumes back in 2000. Now, the vast majority of those travelers, 3.1 million Texans, will go by automobile. Memorial Day is the unofficial start of summer, and many friends and families plan to spend the holiday weekend at cookouts, visiting popular landmarks, and enjoying time in pools, lakes, and rivers. Before you leave on that road trip to gather with your loved ones this weekend, AAA Texas reminds drivers to inspect your vehicle tires, battery, and fluid levels. Nationwide, AAA expects to rescue more than 378,000 stranded drivers over the next 5 days. 20,000 of those roadside rescues will be here in Texas. Be sure to pack food, bottled water, an emergency roadside kit, first aid kit, and a mobile phone charger in case you break down and need to call for help. Also, as you drive, remember that nothing is more important than getting to your destination safely. We ask drivers to please don't drive intoxicated, don't drive intoxicated. Remember that using a smartphone while driving can be just as dangerous and just as deadly as getting behind the wheel after drinking alcohol. Both end in crashes that result in deaths and injuries. Think about this. On average, it takes about 5 seconds to read or send a text message. And if you're traveling at 55 miles per hour, that is like going the length of a football field with your eyes closed. There is absolutely no text, no email, no social media post, no photo that you want to capture that is worth your life or somebody else's life. Also, as you are traveling on Texas highways, please watch out for disabled motorists as well as first responders and tow truck operators who may be assisting those stranded drivers. Remember that Texas has a slow down, move over law, which requires drivers to move over, putting a lane between them and roadside workers, or if you cannot safely get out of that lane closest to emergency vehicles, then you must slow down to 20 miles per hour below the posted speed limit. Drivers, please scan the road ahead, and when you are approaching law enforcement, tow trucks, utility vehicles, emergency responders, or TxDOT vehicles stopped on the side of the road with activated overhead lights flashing, be prepared to move over or slow down. On behalf of everyone at AAA Texas, we want to thank all the men and women at the Harris County Sheriff's Office, Houston Police Department, and Texas Department of Public Safety, as well as law enforcement agencies throughout Southeast Texas for working tirelessly to keep our roads safe this holiday weekend and every day of the year. And for those traveling this holiday weekend, we want everyone to have fun with their loved ones, make lasting memories, but most importantly, arrive alive. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Carol Levin, and I would like for you to meet two very special people in my life. This is Todd Levin, my youngest son, and this is the love of his life, Raylynn Healy, soon to be engaged. So they loved to be together. They ran through Memorial Park together. They went to sports events together. And one day he came home and he said, "You know, Mom, I really love Raylynn and I want to marry her. What do you think?" I said, "Well, we love her, so yes, definitely." So her parents were deceased, and Todd, the gentleman that he always was, said, "Well, I'm going to ask her brother if he would be okay with me marrying Raylynn." So they went out and they met at a restaurant in the Shepherd-Westheimer area, and there was no alcohol involved, and they were so happy and so in love and planning their future. And this was Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, and they left the restaurant, and on their way home they met up with a very drunk driver who had no idea that his light was red and not green. Todd proceeded to go when his light was green. The other person T-boned them. He drove through the car. There was no hope for either one of them. Todd had 2 blows to the skull. His chest was punctured. There was nothing they could do. They tried to get Raylynn to Ben Taub. She was so mangled and so hurt, she died on the way there. I'm a mother. What do? I'm going to fight. And I'm going to fight, and I'm going to help, and I'm going to help all of us to do what we need to do. It doesn't matter if it's 18 years, 10 years, 2 years, or 6 months. We live with this pain in our heart for the rest of our lives. Here's my tagline: save a life. I believe with all of us working together today, you are bringing so much hope to all victims. I am so eternally grateful. Thank you so much.
In addition to the speakers you've heard from, I just want to recognize that we have many others that are gathered here today. We have Lieutenant McClurkin and Sergeant Grandstaff from Precinct 1 Constable's Office, Captain Garza, Precinct 4 Constable's Office, Chief Hubbard and others from Precinct 5 Constable's Office, Captain Anderson, Precinct 5 Constable's Office, Katie Alexander, Texas Law Enforcement Liaison. From the District Attorney's Office, we've recognized Lauren Bard, Randy Mackay with the Machi for the Houston Public Works, Mark Sloan, and other representatives from the Harris County Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and our partners as well that will be assisting us with the blood draws and other things this weekend as well. That concludes the presser. Are there any questions in closing? And again, just want to say we want everybody to enjoy Memorial Day weekend. But again, our community's been through a lot. Let's not add more suffering and more hardship to any families that that devastation, as you've heard from Carol, will last a lifetime. Thank you all for stepping up and sharing your testimonies so that others can learn from it and join the fight and make sure that we stand in unity. Any questions?
Why Harris County continues to lead the nation in this, DWI? Like a message, why is it that?
Well, I think collectively, year after year, we put that message out. I think there's a lot of factors. For one is we have a lot of warm weather. So you have a lot of folks, as you heard, that are doing cookouts, out swimming, out just enjoying the day, and they start consuming, and before you know it, they've had one too many. We're all very connected to our vehicles, so we're used to getting behind the wheel instinctively all the time. There's easy parking everywhere we go. There's a lot of sprawl, so people drive a lot of miles in our region. So I think it's a lot of different factors. And at times it's an issue of making sure that business owners, I know we work very closely with the district attorney's office to find those source locations and make sure we're holding them accountable, but sometimes they're over-serving. Sometimes juveniles are getting other adults to buy alcohol for them, or sometimes it's in your very own parties where your own guests are overindulging. And so again, it's a shared responsibility, but those are some of the factors that lead to such a high number of crashes in our region. But we can change that. All of these are preventable. Anyone else?
Are there any concerns about some intersections that still might have outages going on?
Yeah, the intersections are still very concerning. We're working very diligently with everyone involved with that to make sure we get them all, back operational and everything, so there could be more safety. But again, I think it starts if you're patient, if you're being watchful and mindful, those things with some patience, we're going to get through that. But if you add being intoxicated on top of that, and speeding or being distracted on the phone, or you're consuming drugs or other things, that's a dangerous mix. And so, Chief Satterwhite, I don't know if you want to touch on the traffic signals or anything. Just what I added.
I think you covered it,
Yeah.
Sheriff.
Yeah, we're all working collaboratively, to make sure that we're assisting Public Works and others to get those traffic signals up and running.
Sheriff, you mind if I say something?
Yeah, of course.
I think as law enforcement, what we want to remind people is that driving is not a right. We are very car-centric in Houston. Driving is a privilege, but it comes with responsibilities. And when it comes to the lights being out, I've seen person after person blow through lights without stopping simply because the light isn't functioning. They may not have seen it, but it's their responsibility to see it. We have so many fatalities caused at intersections by people running red lights when they work. Imagine the increased threat level when they don't work. So please, drivers, remember it's your responsibility to know when to stop, whether you're drinking or not.
Anyone else? The question is, what are some of the consequences that someone accused of drunk or impaired driving could potentially face? District Attorney Og, would you like to?
Yes, but I'm going to call my expert.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just some.
This is Assistant District Attorney Lauren Bard, heads Vehicular Crimes Division.
Good morning. The consequences can range anywhere from your first DWI to 1 day in jail up to 180 days in jail. On your second DWI, you're looking at up to a year in jail, and anytime after that, you are looking at up to 10 years, possibly life in jail, depending on if anybody has been injured or how many you have. Those are just the jail consequences. There are fines that are involved. There are loss of your license. There is no way you're going to get insurance at any reasonable rate. You could look at losing any licensure that you have for your job. If you're trying to be a beautician or a nurse or anything in between, those consequences will follow you forever.
Para repetir, las consecuencias pueden variar, pero puede comenzar con un día en cárcel hasta cientos de días, hasta un año en cárcel. Muy costoso también, puede perjudicar su licencia para conducir. Si quiere tener una certificación para ciertos trabajos, le puede perjudicar eso también. Anything else? All right, thank you all very much. Thank you.